Well, hello everybody. This is Stereo Police. 'Tis Friday night, pert near midnight. Friday, December 28th, 2018. And I'm recording a prologue after the fact to a video that I recorded somewhere around 7:30 earlier this evening. And because I forgot to mention something that I wanted to mention. Down here in the basement after the holidays, family's gone. All the people are gone. My nephew's gone. All alone. It's kind of nice. Enjoying a glass of wine there. Oh, my nephew's left his shit all over the place. And my doggy, of course, Jasper. Took him out for a couple walks. He's getting old. Does a lot of laying around. Doggy retirement. But anyway, what I forgot to mention is that I wanted to, in all humility, say thank you to everybody who subscribes to my channel, and to all those folks, all of you guys who leave nice, positive, constructive, encouraging comments, or any comments that, you know, are related to the hobby we all enjoy. It's always nice to hear from you. I'm sorry if I don't respond to everybody. I try to initially, but then I kind of lose track and of course get back to the hectic, busy pace of life. But thanks to everybody who subscribes and leaves nice positive comments. I'll always appreciate that. And also especially thanks to a particular YouTube user, Rosie. Rosie, my sister from another mister. Rosie has been with me from the beginning when I first opened my first YouTube account and started recording. I was pretty fairly shy back then. I was just getting used to the concept of talking into a camcorder when you're all alone, pretending someone's around to listen to you. It's kind of weird. But first started making videos about audio equipment because that's my hobby, it's my passion, it's what I'm into. And Rosie was there from the beginning. Rosie, I appreciate your positive, kind words through the years, and I also, based on your own channel, I definitely appreciate and enjoy your passion for vintage and classic and antique audio equipment, and your knowledge of companies and histories, and your ability to and willingness to repair equipment. Anyway, I spoke with you on YouTube as recently as a week ago, and I definitely appreciate you being along for the ride, and look forward to more of your audio videos. But thanks to everybody, and this particular vid I'm making tonight, I was kind of another. Well, they're almost all spontaneous. Not all of them, but most of them are, because I just have time between work and I just pick up the camcorder when I feel like talking. Though I have a cold right now, as you'll discover. And this particular one is about a new turntable, not a new, but an old classic turntable that I purchased, and I'll get into the reasons for that. And then I get into a bunch of tangents about this, that, and the other, all audio related. Just talk. But anyway, I hope somebody finds this enjoyable, edifying, what have you. And the video you're about to see was recorded about 5 hours ago, and there'll be a part 2, as you'll see. Anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. It's coming right up a few days from now. And here goes. Hey guys, it's Stereo Police. Back with a little video about little to nothing, I think, this time. Yeah, except maybe for what you're looking at here. But I'll get to that in a minute. I have a full-fledged cold, I guess, not the flu. And so it might sound like I'm a little sick, and I am. I really didn't even feel like making a video, but I finished up on my work today. It's Friday, the whatever, what's the date? It's the Friday before New Year's. New Year's is next Tuesday. I don't even know the damn date. 25th, 6th, 7th, 28th. And I finished up all my work, and it's been a while since I had a project, so my workbench was kind of bare, kind of lonely. So had this little old turntable here, this JVC that I purchased at a junk place, all packaged up in its original box, and I don't even know the year of this thing, but it's a linear tracking turntable. Nothing, not high end, you know, not even considered to be anything, no collector's item, none of that stuff. But I saw it, and it reminded me, and I'm pretty sure I had this exact same turntable when I was young, when I was in maybe junior high, and it looks like the exact same one. If it's not, it's darn close. So it's nostalgic. It just reminded me of something that I had. And so I picked it up. I don't even know if it works. You know, it was as close to free as you can get, let me put it that way. And so I figured, okay, well, you know, we'll give it a shot, see if it works, and if it doesn't, try to fix it. I've never really been into turntables that much. I've not really worked on them much. I've had a few over my life, but I was an early adopter of digital, of CDs back in the early to mid 80s, and I just kind of stuck with that, which makes me wonder whether I'm, you know, it's funny, there's this term audiophile, and I kind of throw it around, and then there's the term equipment file, which is usually kind of derogatory, you know, and audiophile, I guess, is an audio purist, I think. I don't know what the exact definition of it is. It probably varies from person to person, but and an equipment file might be somebody who kind of digs the equipment maybe a little more than the actual process of listening and enjoying music, the pastime of enjoying music. And sometimes I really think pardon me, there's a cold, my apologies, sore throat and everything. Sometimes I think, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I wonder if I'm sort of halfway between an equipment file and an audio file. Just to use common words, I guess. Maybe there's not even a category, but I really like equipment. You know, I like the process of searching for new equipment and researching and searching and looking at and purchasing. I like the looks of it. I like the feel of things. I care a lot about how things look and feel and materials used, and of course the circuitry itself too. And then I like having the stuff, you know. And so you're looking at the Akitica power amp that I built, and I'm currently driving that Akitica power amp, which is powering the Forte 3s, and I'm driving it from the preamp outputs of the Yamaha AS1100, so I'm bypassing its internal amp but using its preamp. And I like having these things laying around, just occasionally, you know, switching things up just to listen to something else. Everything's got its own sonic signature, and of course I won't listen to anything that's bad, but all of these things have their assets and their own sonic, all of these pieces of equipment, their own signature, and, you know, their own the things that they bring to the party, so to speak. And another one I like to substitute in every now and then is that Yamaha A1000 down there. That's a damn good amplifier. I was shocked when I bought that. I read about it, online. People really seem to like that, and it's got a Class A and Auto Class A feature on it, and various other things. But it's all about the sound. I like the looks of it too. Well built, but and I like subbing that in every now and then. It's got a completely different sonic signature than the Yamaha. The Yamaha is definitely my favorite by far out of all of them. But it's kind of nice to sit back and have options. And periodically, let me back up. It's nice to not say I'm on a total tangent. I was on the turntable. I'll get back to that in a minute. But it's really nice for me to. Well, I really appreciate amps, preamps, and speakers. Those are the things that I kind of fell in love with when I was young. Geez, even before I was 10 years old. You're just naturally inclined to certain things. And for me, it was audio. Back then it was radios, buying radios, and portable radios, handheld radios, boom boxes. Listening to them, and then ultimately taking them apart and trying my best with limited knowledge to see how things work. And I really like the mystery of it all. I like not knowing how things work. That's actually kind of more fun and more. When things are kind of mysterious, it kind of adds to your enjoyment of things in a way. And and from then, when I finally got a paper route and cutting grass, lawn, I had about 10 or 11 houses that I cut their grass, and then I worked at a gas station part-time. And when I finally got the money, I spent it all on stereo equipment. I guess most kids at the time were into dirt bikes and bicycles and sporting stuff, but for me it was about audio and about stereo equipment. And when I finally got the money, I came to realize real quick, at least in my opinion, that, and I love good sound, and of course I love music too, but I came to realize that the number one biggest factor in how your system sounds was going to be the speakers, far and away. And then, back then our sources of audio were fairly limited. You had the radio, well, not limited, but you had the radio, you had records, LPs, EPs, 45s, and you had cassettes, which was always a horrible medium. Never appreciated the cassette. It was just junk from the beginning. And, with the level of hiss and the dropouts you get, and that little wrinkly sound it happens, I just can't take it. Never was into it. And I always had my problem with LPs too, with records. You always get that record with a little warp in it, and clicks and pops and skips, and of course I was a kid. I didn't know how to take care of records that well. You'd pull them off and stack them on each other and that sort of thing, but didn't clean them properly, so I didn't know what I was doing. But I always had that problem with records too. It never was pure enough for me. And I'm not saying that albums or records don't have their merits. They do. Purely analog form, it's wonderful. A purely analog source. But when CDs came along, initially they didn't sound that good, but because they weren't mastered for CD. But I was an early adopter, and I appreciated the fact that there were no hiss and clicks and pops and warps, and so turntables kind of fell by the wayside. But back to the speakers and the amps. I was always a speaker and an amp guy, and I always found, of course, the speakers made the biggest difference in how your system sounded, and second to that was the amplifier. And so I've always been into that sort of thing, speakers and amps, really. And not to say that any component in the signal path is not important. They're all important, but that was my thing. But God, have so many threads going here. I lost track of what I was talking about. But back to the turntable thing. I'll wrap that up. So, turntables always kind of bothered me because there was just a lot of maintenance and cleaning the cartridge, and the needle slowly goes bad, and all kinds of things. And I always appreciated automatic turntables because, unlike, I have this completely manual turntable, which really is the way to go for high end. The fewer mechanical mechanisms, the better. But, when the record gets to the end right here, you got to be around. Otherwise, that thing's going to spin, and at the, wear and tear on the needle. And so when I was growing up, I ended up buying this linear tracking turntable. I think it was my first fully automatic turntable. That was a big deal back then. And by fully automatic, I mean you put the record on and push a button and it's over. The stylus would find its way to the first song, and at the end it would pick up and go back to home. And I thought that was pretty cool, and that was good for having friends over and parties and things like that, and you set it and forget it. When you don't hear sound anymore, you go back and you flip it. So I remember that linear tracker, and I really liked it. I'm sure it didn't sound that good by today's standards, but it just reminded me when I went into this junk shop and I found that that turntable I just showed you. I pulled it out and looked at it, and I said, man, it looks just like the one I had, so I had to buy it just to see if I can get it working again. And that's what I'm going to do next. But back to the equipment file versus audio file thing. Yeah, so I've always had a fascination with mechanisms and circuitry. And again, also the way equipment looks, feels, all the things I said. And it's just nice to have things around and substitute things in and out. And that's why I have it in right now. I just wanted to give that a listen again. And what's funny is when I first subbed that in, I could immediately tell that there were the overall differences between it and the built-in amp to the Yamaha. And initially it's kind of disturbing because I'm thinking, oh, I want my Yamaha back, but I gave it a listen for it's been in the system now for almost a week. Even had it in over Christmas, and we had in this room down here. That's another story, but we had big family get together down here, and it was nice because there was no television, and all we did was passed around the tablet there, and everyone chose songs we used from YouTube and Spotify, both. It really wasn't about the ultimate in fidelity. It was just about listening to music, and music, of course, always brings back memories. And but it was nice to have the whole family sitting around the stereo instead of family sitting around the TV. And so this room got quite a workout. And anyway, the Akitica amp was in there, and it really started to grow on me. I know it's different from the Yamaha, but it really, really does have a nice sound. Overall, it's very pleasant. There's nothing, after after listening to it for a few days, and with the neurons in the brain getting used to the fact that that's the amp and that's how things sound. That's the point where sometimes if you have a less than desirable piece of equipment, it'll start gnawing at you. If something's wrong, with it, sonically, at least to your ears, that's when it starts to get annoying and fatiguing. And the Akitica never did. It's actually really, really good. And it, of course, it's an integrated circuit or monolithic based amp. And I have criticized integrated circuits in the past, mostly notably op amps. And this is not the amp integrated circuits into the Akitica are not really, it's really like it's not really an op amp per se, but it's a variation of it. But a variation of it that's specifically designed for high quality audio. And just listening to it, I'm pretty pleased with it. Thinking maybe I should get over my bias of integrated circuits. It's just a bias I have. But anyway, it's nice to be able to swap things in and out and just get a different flavor. You know, you have your favorite flavor, but it's nice to get a different flavor every now and then. And that's the equipment file aspect, I think, in audio. And it's nice to have, and I'm just talking off the top of my head here, just, nothing, I'm not really going anywhere, but for me, I don't know if you guys ever experience this kind of thing, but well, audio, you know, this is a hobby, and it's nice to achieve that point in your hobby where you have whatever it is you're into, in this case, audio system. It's nice to have that system that you've always wanted, you know, and it sounds so good, and everything is so right, which is what I have here. It's a good place to be. But once you achieve that, then you can say, okay, well, I've got that, but let's go listen to something else. Let's put something else in the system. And even if it's not quite as good, it's still kind of fun just to listen to it. Knowing that you have something a little better, you could always, you know, revert back to, if that makes any sense. But the Akitica is pretty good. I mean, if that was the only amp I had, I'd be pretty satisfied. I'm losing my voice, I think. It's sore throat. But to have the, you know, the Akitica flavor and the A1000 flavor, and then you can always go back to the S11. It's just a kind of a good, fun thing. So I'm having a, you know, it's been enjoyable listening to the Akitica. And where am I going with this? Well, back to the turntable. So I have that project turntable right there, which is fantastic, and even though I'm not a record guy, it's fun to spin records every now and then. I got a few over there. I've got more of them packed away that I haven't cleaned yet. I've got my spin clean, that yellow thing right there. I wish I had one of those spin clean. It's a manual thing. It's kind of messy, but I wish I had one of those high dollar record cleaning devices, you know, that, I forget the name of that one. I have a friend who's got one of these. I forget the name of it. It's like $1,200, but you can put that record in there every single, you know, right before every play, and get it that surface perfect. No lint, no dust, no static. I wish I had one of those, but that's way off. Still paying off what I have here. The joys of a cold. So if that linear tracking turntable works, and I don't have any ultra valuable records, you know, I'm not worried about damage to them. I don't play them that often. It's just fun to pop them on every now and then and listen and know that, you know, you're listening to a purely analog source. And they do sound great, of course. You know, I mean, records, some of them sound really, really good. And I know there's a lot of people that believe records are the only way to go. That's perfectly fine. To each his own. But I'd like to, if that works, I'd like to pop that new turntable in the system and use it for a while. I hope it works. Just for the fun of it. Because again, I like I say, part of it is just about the equipment. It's just fun to have older stuff that still works, and even if it doesn't sound as good as what you have, you know in your brain you have a better system. But knowing that, it's fun to listen to some of the more unique stuff, the older stuff, the vintage stuff. It might not sound as good, but you're listening to something vintage. You know, something from 30 years ago. That's kind of, that adds its own little element of enjoyment to it. And so that's what I'm gonna do next, is open up that box. And I've never plugged it in, just looked at it at the store, And maybe it needs a new stylus. Maybe it needs a new belt. I believe it's belt driven. I'm sure I can still get those things online. Surprising the stuff you can still get to retrofit old turntables. So, geez. Anyway, I talked about so much I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. All right, well, let's go back in there and can't wait to build that second system. You know, those are my Forte 3s. There's that darn sticker on the back I mentioned before that keeps popping out. I'd like to build a second system one day when I have the room for it, with around the Forte 3s. Maybe with the Akitica amp, but then I need a preamp. Alright, I'm going to go grab a glass of water or something because I'm losing my voice. And unbox this turntable and see if it works. Alright, got my cup of coffee. Hopefully I can talk a little better. There's something while I was getting the cup of coffee, I was thinking about something. So it's going to be this video is going to be just miscellaneous rants and observations, I think. I was talking earlier when I was sitting out here about audiophile versus equipment file, and you know, I said I'm halfway in between. I enjoy both. I enjoy the combination of both. But what's funny is, I don't know exactly what true audiophiles are listening for. You know, I don't know what people have different concepts of what high fidelity is. You know, what an excellent audio system sounds like or should sound like. And everything has a sound. Everything has got its own signature. Nothing is perfect. But and it's weird, man, because you can see my system right here. Okay, I've got a modern day vintage looking Yamaha AS1100 that I love. Got the Akitica right there, which I don't normally use, but I'm using it now. I've got an old Yamaha tuner, and I've got a TIAC NT, what is it again? NT503. I lost track of what it is because I noticed that TIAC has an NT505 now. It's an upgraded version. I'm not sure what the upgrades are, but I'm happy with that one. So I got the TIAC NT503 for streaming audio, and it's my D to A converter. And of course the Klipsch. And these are all very different kind of components, and when I say different, I mean I've got a solid state amplifier driving horn loaded efficient speakers, and you know, I'm feeding it mostly with digital. And it's in some circles it's a whole contradiction, you know, and I've noticed people commenting, and I fully respect everyone's opinions. I'm not criticizing anyone's opinion here, but I scratch my head sometimes. I've had some comments that, hey, you've got these Cornwall's speakers or the Fortes as well, and why aren't you getting a super nice tube amplifier to drive it? And as if you have to pair horn loaded classic speakers with tube amps, because why? You know, because when these speakers were first introduced, people, you know, in 1959, the Cornwalls or whatever, and whatever it was, I think it was 59, that people were driving with tubes, so I have to drive them with tubes today? Well, no, these speakers have their own virtues and are thoroughly modern and wonderful sounding, and why do I have to drive it with tubes? Because why? I don't get that. I believe in piecing your system together with whatever sounds great to you. And then even in the tube world, you know, once you delve into the tube world, then people are going to argue about which output to KT88s versus EL34s versus what's that Flea Watt 300B, Western Electric 300Bs. And then if you finally settle on a 300B amp, then and then the question is, okay, wow, you got 300B, but you're not using this brand of tubes. That's just the Mullards are better than the Western Electric or whatever. It never frickin' ends. And you know, I guess there's a lot of opinions out there, but I believe in going with what sounds best. You can see I don't really follow a trend here. I just go with what I like. But back to, well, I don't know what people are listening to. I once went into this audio shop in Northern Virginia, and it was one of the most elite audio people I've ever met. He was the owner of this shop. I mean, and he was a pretty arrogant guy too. I liked him, but my God, he just oozed with arrogance. And he thought he knew everything. And his opinion was, if you didn't agree with his opinion, he'd stick the nose up, nose up at you. You're a lesser being. And he took me in. It was a wonderful shop. I mean, killer good stuff in there. Some of it was, but he was into the tubes and into horns. And he had a couple of these colossal, and I don't think he sold them. They were these customized horn speakers. And Colossal did the mouth of the horn on these mid-range drivers were like 4 feet by 4 feet, and they swirled. I don't know what the hell they were. They curved around from the back and made a loop and looked like a big pretzel. And he had me listen to it. And, I wasn't going to criticize it whether I liked it or not, but he played something on there, and it was some kind of lady singing, and there was a horn section or something, and to me it sounded like shit. I mean, I was like, oh my God, this is probably a $60,000 system, and this guy thinks it's the bomb, and it sounds like total crap to me. But hey, so I don't. But he kept talking about, look, they're so coherent and this and I don't. It was mumbo jumbo, and he was obviously listening for something and that's something he found in that system. And to me, it sounded like garbage. I wouldn't even, if it was free, I wouldn't have brought it home. It takes up too much space. And then you get other people that, I've heard people listen to the systems that sound harsh and metallic and very analytic. And they think that's it. That's it, man. Listen to that. Oh, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, sounds good. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, oh, geez. So we all listen. We all analyze our systems and our equipment, hopefully based on our own criteria. And I don't know what that criteria is, so I'm not quite sure. Again, if I'm an audiophile, I don't know, but I just know what I like, and when I find it, that's it. And I damn sure found it here. I will say this, one of the things, I don't know exactly what I'm listening for, but I do like dynamics. I like lifelike dynamics and tight, accurate bass. And, you don't get dynamics in conventional speakers the way you get it in these horn-loaded speakers. And wow. Just takes your breath away. I'm not doing a review here, but... So yeah, I don't believe in pairing equipment up because you have this kind of thing, you have to have that kind of thing. I never understood that. And you just keep subbing things in, getting things, listening to things, and, when you finally piece together a system that is a great synergistic combination that works and you're thrilled with it, that's it. I don't care what technology it is. What it's based on. It doesn't matter, as long as it sounds good. That's where I need to overcome my prejudice of integrated circuits, because that key is pretty good. Oh, sore throat, terrible. Anyway, I think I covered all my rants. Okay, let me get this on the tripod. All right. Oh, that's another thing I've been criticized about. About how I hold the camera and I don't keep it steady, and a lot of times I'm sitting in the chair and I'm actually rocking, and then the camera's going up and down, and one guy said he got seasick. I need to learn to use the tripod more. Point noted. I agree with that. I just walk around and start talking and forget I'm even holding the camera sometimes. And I only do one take. It is what it is. Alright, so this is the JVC L-E22. I already talked about why I bought it. Oops, old crumb, it's upside down. This is the original box. And it's got the owner's manual in it. Who needs the owner's manual, right? If you're a man's man, you can figure it out without the owner's manual. That's what they say. Right. All right. So, you know, and I fully realized this was a mid-fi product back then, and probably a low-fi product now by today's standards. But it's just fun. Man, I had one just like this. Just like this. It was in the early 80s. And let me get this off the tripod, and I really liked it back then, just as the ease. Again, I think I mentioned this is the first fully automatic turn. I hope this is fully automatic. It better be. Alright, here we go. Linear tracking. Fully automatic, yep. And instead of a tone arm, man, looks just like the one I had. This was good condition. If this thing is like 30 some years old, there's no dust in here. I mean, it's certainly scratched up on the top, but it says tested with original box. All right. So instead of a tone arm, it's got this little mechanism up there. There's the stylus. And it just tracks in a straight line right across with the record. I don't even know how it does it. Must have some kind of a, yeah, that thing is on a little pivot. There's probably a couple springs in there, and when it tracks the record, it's going to start to move, and it reaches a point and where it clicks. It triggers some kind of maybe a Hall effect device or some kind of switch, and then the motor will incrementally and, you know, track it or something like that. I have no idea how they work. And again, I like that. You know, it kind of, I mentioned this before in probably more than one of my videos, that it kind of sucked the life out of the hobby for a while when I ended up going to electrical engineering when I went to college, and then I started learning things and started building amps and speakers and all that, and then I actually became a little more miserable knowing too much, and I think that's the way it is. It's the way it is with anything. There's a little mystery and magic to things. It kind of adds to the fun of it, you know, when you don't really know everything, and then knowing too much sometimes makes you miserable. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. You run into these friggin' people that study politics and like to debate and argue, and they know everything about current. You know, I hardly watch the news anymore, just the big things. And those kind of people are usually freaking miserable. They're pissed off all the time. It's because they know too much, or at least they think they do. But anyway, after I went to college and started building amps and doing projects and all that, then I got busy with a career, and then it kind of went by the wayside, and then years later, here I am back to the hobby and really enjoying it. It's a belt driven. There's the motor, and there's the belt, and the belt feels like it's a good, you know, in some of these, especially in cassette decks, I've actually seen this. Some of these belts, they're rubber, and they just disintegrate into a goo. I mean, they literally turn into a liquid. It's disgusting. They just fall apart. They degrade, but into like this liquid goo tar stuff. So That hasn't happened here. I'm thankful for that. Got some circuitry down below. Everything's, look, no dust. I mean, really, there's no dust down there at all. So this thing might have been stored. It might be, it looks brand new in there. It might have been, and no dust up here either. So it might have been, at least they left the cover closed. A little scratched on top, but the cover was, the dust cover was definitely closed. And it did a damn good job. Okay, so there's our stylus. It's our adapter for 45s. It's got a piece of tape on. I wish, oh, I bet this is that freaking tape that leaves a stain. Hopefully not. There's the 45 adapter. Okay, looking good. Oh, this is a classic. I love this turntable already. I hope it works. Alright, so we got our, looks like our lift the tone arm button, and I'm not quite sure. This has got the symbols of fast forward and rewind on it. But if the needle is down playing a record, what does that do? Does it lift it up and move it forward? I bet you. That's how you find the next track. Got a repeat, so you can, at the end of the record, it'll repeat. Size between 30 and 17 inch. Is that right? Giving it in inches and not RPM. Oh, yeah, okay. Speed, there it is, 33 and 45. I guess you need to give it a size so that the needle knows where to go when you press, when you do the fully automatic start. And then power. All the switches are clicking nicely. No corrosion or anything. Let's, I don't know if that belt looks good. I don't think I need it. I'm not going to take the platter off. The belt looks good, so why don't we let's just see if it works. Make sure that the needle itself, the stylus, and the diamond is nothing's bent up in there. Nothing's bent or warped, or there actually sometimes there's no diamond needle left on there, and you wouldn't want a piece of metal scratching up your records. I gotta get my close-up glasses for this. Jeez, to see that thing. Yeah, there is. You're not gonna see it on the camera. There is a needle. I mean, there's a diamond on there. Looks kind of small. You know what? Oh, man. I'm going to pause for a second. I actually don't see... I see something sticking out, but it looks way too damn small to be a diamond needle. Jeez. Let me hit pause and verify that. Oh, man, I don't know. There is something sticking out of there. I put my best glasses on, and I couldn't tell if it's what was going on. Hardly looks like, it looks much smaller than diamond needles that I'm on my other cartridge and other cartridges I've had. I worry that it's broken or so worn down. Although I have a hard time believing it'd be worn down. This turntable's in such good shape. I don't think it got a lot of use. There'd be more dust in here. Well, whoever wrapped this. Oh, geez. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get one of my records I don't care so much about. And we'll give it a whirl. We'll give it a test. But regardless, I'm going to order a new stylus for this. If I can find one. And I'm going to go ahead and order a belt as well. Because I don't know how old that belt is. So, but in the meantime, just to see if it works. I hate it when people wrap cords like this. This is not good for the cord. This is not good for the power cord at all. Wrap power cords just have very gentle bends in it, but just that tight wrap thing is just not good. Alright, so it's plugged in. What do we have coming out of the back? Well, it's a power cord and then the RCA jacks. I've got to get a phono preamp somewhere to hook this up to my amp, but let's just first, before we do that, just to see if it comes on. And on the front, let me see what I got lit up here. Yeah, on the front there's a little light that says auto, and it lit up. So I'm going to need to go get a record before I hit start on this, so it has something to land on. Alright, so I got a record. It's really dirty. It's one of my records I got at a record shop, and haven't cleaned it or anything. It's dirty and dusty. It's Rush Signals. So I might end up destroying a Rush album here. Alright, so let's get this. Let's see if I got a good view of this thing here. There we go. Alright. No, so after refusing to read the owner's manual, I'm just going to start hitting buttons. So let's first of all, I'm going to hit 33. We got a 33, we got a 30, size 30 and 17. 30 and 17. And repeat on or off. Got it on size 30 and 30 and 17. And repeat is off, and I'm going to hit this button that says up, down, or no, there's start. Start, stop, up and down. Let's hit start, see what happens. Oh, we're spinning. We're spinning. Uh-oh. What's it supposed to do? Oh crap. Oh boy, we're out of luck. Nothing's happening. Start, stop, up and down. Oh boy. Well, this will be an anticlimactic video. Well, nothing's happening. This mechanism up here, not wanting to move. Plug-in connector system. Fully tested my ass. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off, turn it back on. That's up and down, that's start. So presumably hit start, it starts to spin, then I use this to move the stylus. Nothing. Well, what a bummer. I wonder if it's an easy fix. Let me hit pause here and tinker with it for a second. Alright, so I took the cover off. It was 4 screws. Very easy for that cover to come off. 4 screws, and it reveals the mechanism. And, well, here we go. Pretty cool. Just sitting here trying to figure out how it works, but there's the stylus. I'm hesitant to call it a tone arm, but there it is right there. And it moves along a track, of course. Ooh, that's magnetic. It moves along a track right here, and it moves from this, looks like this, yeah, it's that twine, maybe. But basically there's a gear, there's a worm gear right there, to a gear, to a motor, and there's a belt. And I think I already figured it out because I turned this on before I started the camera. So this motor has got to turn this worm gear, which rotates this pinion gear here, which in turn moves the string or the thread, which is attached. I still don't see what is moving this whole thing, but anyway, I still got to figure this out. But ooh, there's the counterweight. Look at that. That's a counterweight right there to the stylus or the tone arm. Oh yeah, okay. So this right here is fixed. So this is the pull point where it pulls the whole carriage along this track right here. And so, well, let's turn it on and I'll show you what I think is going on. So we turn it on, I hit start, and right off the bat, this motor, you can't see it, but it's spinning. This belt going nowhere. Now look, if I push down on it, look at this. See? Now we get it moving if I give it a little tension. So, and when that moves, it should start to pull the whole carriage. Ooh, it's kind of moving there. Kind of got it moving some. Look at that. Ooh, getting started. Yep, this thing is slowly, yep, it's slowly moving it. Alright, turn it off. So the problem is this belt right here. It's old and worn, and it doesn't have enough friction to turn the worm gear right here. Pure and simple. Look how clean it is in here, man. No dust, no nothing. This thing, I'm confident if I can find that belt, it will work. It's the belt. Damn it. Well, okay, I was getting really bummed when it wasn't working, but now I'm kind of excited that maybe I can get it working again. Fortunately, this isn't a belt. This is a thread, probably nylon, pretty tight too. So everything else looks good. I bet the thing works. And I don't know if you can see it. I still don't see I don't see a needle. I really don't. So I need to order. You know, there really isn't a needle on that thing. It's gone, man. So I need to order a stylus, a belt, and if I can get that belt up here, the drive belt. I'm sure there's a company that sells belts and you just match it up by diameter. How do you get that belt off? Something's got to be removed, right? It's got to be that motor. Betcha. I bet you that motor just pops right out. I'll betcha. Shouldn't be, you know what, dumbass. I'm doing all this with it plugged in. What a dork. Alright. Oh, can't get that one hand. Wonder if like springs and gears and crap are gonna fly all over the place, huh? It's all one-handed. Okay. Okay, this is a cover. This is a cover that's, oh, the whole thing is like snapped. It's a rubber. It's actually rubber, not plastic. So the whole thing is snapped in. Pull that, let's remove that belt. I need to keep it intact so I can measure its... What? Oh shit. Yeah, I normally don't cuss on these videos. I'm sorry. I got freaking grease on the belt. You definitely don't want to get that in the track where the belt runs. You know how that's gonna have to come off? I don't know. Guess I didn't need to remove the motor. it's got to, this worm gear's got to come off, or this pulled up and it slid out from around it. Oh man, okay, well, you know what? I'll work on that problem. I'm just happy that I think I can get it working again. That's kind of cool. Alright, well, this is about all I can do tonight, Friday night. I'm about to uncork a bottle, go in and enjoy the Yamaha Akitika Forte 3 combo. That's pretty cool. I hope I can get it working. I'm gonna run upstairs now and get on the web and see if I can find these parts. Oh, I want to pull that belt off to measure its diameter, or I think you pull it tight and you pull it so it's two pieces and you measure its length. I think that's how you buy them. It's been a while. Okie doke. Alrighty, man. Well, look. Thanks for listening. I'll do a part 2 on this turntable project. Just to wrap things up, hopefully get it working so we can sub it in and listen to it and see how it works. And but yeah, this is fun stuff, you know. It's fun when you get things working again, especially something vintage, even though it's not ultra high quality, but it's just fun. I think there are a lot of you guys out there that appreciate this. Yeah. Okay. Alright guys, look, have a nice weekend, and as if you're going to be watching this on a Friday when I made it, but I'll get back to you on this project, and if I don't get back before New Year's, have a happy New Year 2019, be safe, and as always, ciao. You know, I'm gonna have to chow you twice tonight, because I just couldn't put this away. I couldn't resist. I had to know how to get that belt out. And so I finally figured it out. This motor, of course, did not have to move. And we have here, I called this a worm gear earlier, and it's not really. This is a regular spur gear, and so it's really not a worm gear. It's a oh, I forget what they call that, but this is a regular spur gear. It doesn't have teeth that mesh up to a true worm gear where the teeth are kind of helical or go sideways, but that's here nor there. So what I did is this spur gear has a E-clip down here. There it is. That's just a retaining ring, and it's an E-ring. And if you're not careful pulling those off, they fly. I mean, I actually got my screwdriver in there and covered the whole thing up with a towel. In case it flew, it would fall right back where it came from. So that removed, and then this, what I call a worm gear, but it's not really, has an axle that goes all the way through it, right there, and it goes into a little divot on that side right there, and it's held in. Once you push that all the way in, it's retained by this little clip right here that goes right on there and pushes down, and it retains that little head right there. And then this gear comes off, and of course you pull off the old belt. And I cut the belt in half. I could have just cut it in half and pulled it off, but I wanted to know how to get that off, because I have to know how to put the new one back on, if I can get a new one. So here it is, and generally, not all the places, but generally I need to know the total circumference of this thing. I don't know whether they want to know it in millimeters or inches, but the total circumference, which is about 3 3/4. Now this thing is probably stretched over the years, but I might buy a couple different sizes if they're not too expensive. But it's about 3 3/4 inch total circumference. You need to know whether it's a flat belt, which it's not. The flat belt's like the one in there, turntable belt, round or square. And this one happens to be square, but a round one might work. But it's the cross section is, you can't see it probably when it's square. And then you need to know the diameter of it. And I don't know if they want that in millimeters or inches, but looking at my little ruler there, it looks like exactly 1 millimeter in diameter. So that's what you need to know. Got to write that down: 3 3/4 and 1 millimeter square. And I'm going to go ahead and try to order that. If I can't get that, there's no use in ordering the stylus and the belt. Although I need to pull that belt off there to measure that one too, the platter belt. But I am really psyched and hoping that if I can get this belt, I can get this baby working again, because it's just so clean. Pretty cool. Alright, so yeah, I was going to end it earlier, but I just couldn't resist. So I'm going to roll upstairs and try to order this 1 millimeter 3 3/4 inch square belt, and get that going in the mail, and I'll revisit this when I get the parts. Alright, there she is. That's my second. This is my second and last chow for the night. Ciao.